Hi, my name is Carol Ann Webb, and I've had the opportunity to be in this pre-need class this quarter, and I have had the opportunity to learn all kinds of things. And this is kind of my brief summary of what I think we could take from this class and things that we could use in our funeral homes to better ourselves and our employees. One of the most important things I took from this class was the need to build relationships with people. And I think a lot of us already know that we need to build relationships with people, but it just was reiterated in this class that when people walk through the door, we need to build a working relationship with them. It leads to better sales, it leads to good rapport within the community, and it just gives you an opportunity to get your name out there. And so I think that would probably be the most important thing I learned this semester. The next thing that I would probably say is the next most important thing is to make people feel comfortable. When they walk through the door, greet them, open the door for them, and just build that relationship from the word go. Whether you're offering them something to eat, something to drink, something that kind of takes the edge off. Because when people walk through those doors, they're nervous. Whether even at pre-needs, because people don't like to think about death and playing death. It's not something people enjoy doing. And especially with the at-need families, because you see it all the time where people are like, we never thought this would happen, because people don't anticipate death. So they're nervous. And so making them feel comfortable is a great way to initiate that relationship with a family. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. The next thing I would talk about or gather from this class would be the need to educate ourselves to educate our families. We have to know our products. You have to be able to know what's trending. Lately it's been the recompost law that was passed in Washington. If you had a family come in and ask you about it, you have to be able to explain something to them. Or, I think Minnesota passed the open air cremation law where they can do Viking funerals now, in a sense. And things like that. If families come in and ask and want information on these things, I think we need to be able to provide them with information. And the same thing goes with our merchandise. You have to be able to tell a family the difference between merchandise, difference between caskets. What's the difference between a 20 gauge and an 18 gauge? You have to be able to answer that, because if you can't answer that question, you're not going to be able to prove the value of those caskets to your families, and they're going to start questioning your ability to sell. And the next thing I think is of great importance is to sit down and just listen to them, take notes, and gather information about the person you're writing the pre-need on, what they enjoyed to do, their favorite colors, if it's a female, flowers, even males like flowers. Just gather information on things that you would use to plan a service at the time of death, but gather it now, because when it comes that time, the husband may sit there and say, I don't remember what my wife liked, or I don't know. And so if you have time to gather that information from the family prior to death, you're going to get more out of them, because they're not shell shocked yet. They're preparing, but they haven't had to experience the death yet. So they're able to remember more things. So I always use, and I'll show y'all, I always use this sheet to fill out with all my family's pre-need or at need. The back is just lined paper, but I will fill it out front and back. I list favorite flowers, favorite music, anything I can think of that will help me, whether it's put together a memorial video or decide on a memorial book to choose from, because we personalize all of that now, or even, be able to pick a theme for my video. I've got, I think, over 100 themes I can choose from. So if I know a lady loved sewing, I'll pick a sewing theme. But if I didn't ask those questions, I'd never know and be able to personalize that stuff for them. And then I think the next biggest thing is, and it goes back to educating families and educating ourselves, is to be able to answer questions. If a family asks you why they need a vault, or is that really necessary? Because I've had that question before. You have to be able to explain to them, look, the cemetery does require a vault, the particular cemetery you chose. If you'd like to choose another cemetery, you're more than welcome to. Maybe they haven't bought property there yet. Maybe they have. It really just depends on the family. And then, when you talk about, had family last week tell me, I don't really think escorts are necessary. And I had to say, unfortunately they are, just because of where we're located. We're located on a major road. And the service was going to be during a time where school's going to be getting out. So escorts were very much necessary. But he objected and said, I don't want that. And, I had to explain to him that, for your safety and ours, we need it. And, but if I didn't explain it to him, he would have been upset. But once I explained to him that, they are necessary and this is why, he was perfectly fine with it and they absolutely loved it. And then the next thing I think is important would be discussing the difference between funding pre-needs. Here locally at our funeral home, we fund pre-needs through insurance company. I don't do pre-needs here, so I don't know. I do unfunded pre-needs, but I don't fund pre-needs, so I don't know what insurance company we use or anything like that, or the terms that go along with that. I don't have an insurance license, but I do know that funding a pre-need is critical. You need to be able to explain the difference to a family, what a guaranteed contract is and what a non-guaranteed contract is, and the difference in that. Because sometimes that's a selling point for a family. I talked to a gentleman last week and he was asking me questions about pre-need pricing on a cremation. And in the conversation, he said, well, I can bring you a check. I said, that'd be great. You can speak with our pre-need advisor and we can start you an insurance policy. He said, no, I want to pay for it up front. And so I explained to this gentleman, look, if you pay for this up front, we can do that through an insurance policy. As the benefit to this is it's going to lock in that $9.95 price for our cremation. It's not going to go up on your family. If it comes down, your family will get the refund, but it's going to lock in that price. It cannot go any higher than that $9.95. And after I explained that to him, he's like, oh, that's great. I didn't even know that was an option. And so I just think the biggest thing is, we have to educate our families so they know that they have these options available to them. And then the next thing, which I think is of great importance, and it goes back to building those relationships with families, is following up with your families, making sure that once they get their paperwork, or if you mail them something, send them an email, make sure they don't have any questions, and make sure that you can just be there to answer the questions if they have any, because that means a lot for families that they're not having to go through paperwork on their own. I do this pretty regularly if I have a family that is going to fill out their cremation paperwork on their own. We do a lot of online sales now through our website. And so if I have a family that's doing an online arrangement for a cremation, I will give them my number and say, hey, give me a call and I'll walk you through this paperwork, because sometimes it's overwhelming to go through. And I think families, even if they don't take me up on the option, I think they like the security of knowing that the option's available to have someone walk them through their paperwork. Anyways, I was kind of long-winded. I'm sorry, guys. Thank y'all for the great semester.